remarkable woman. She has gone through, talk about belief systems and programs, from the Eisenhower, as in Dwight D. grandfather, programming and intention. And intention is where we place our will, and they place theirs on her. She had a very rough coming up trying to figure out she had a right to be something other than their puppet. So she has a great deal to inspire us with in that line. She's also one incredible astrologer and other wonderful healing things and all. Plus she's a Libra like me, so we have this thing. As well as being roommates this time, this is a wonderful treat for me, and it's going to be a greater treat for you, Laura Eisenhower.
Hello, everybody. Wow, I sound weird. You know when you listen to a recording of yourself and you sound like you're 12? Okay. It's such an incredible honor to be here. I mean, every time I speak at a Star Knowledge conference, it's a homecoming, it's a space of unification, it's a sacred space, it's incredible. I could spend a lot of time just talking about what it's meant to me ever since the Venus transits in 2011 when we were up in Mount Shasta. And it was actually at a location where there was a Mars training program, and that was connected to something that I I wouldn't say almost got involved in because there was no way. But it was just ironic because the target date for leaving to go off planet was 2012. And here I was watching the Venus transits go across the sun in 2011, speaking about Venus and speaking about Mars and the unification of those energies, the ego and the heart becoming one. And it was at the training grounds for the Mars project. And a colleague of mine, Andrew Bashago, had been training there to prepare for these colonizations. And so we were just like right at that exact same location. And the following year, I was supposed to be on Mars. So, but I mean, that's all like whatever, because from day one, you weren't going to control me. And so it was almost really fun to be up against that sort of stuff, to exercise that, that sovereignty and that knowingness that this is really what it's about. There's a lot of people telling us what to do, how to be, what we should think, what we should believe, what's the best thing to do for the human race. But a lot of it is for the benefit of some and not everybody else. And that's just not where it's at. This is a time of unification. This is a time of understanding that we're a family and that we're all here to look out for one another. And enough with this patriarchy, enough with all of us buying into something that holds up a facade and hides the true nature of what we're really about and how important we are to one another. And that really comes down to unification. When we think of unity consciousness, what does that mean? It's not just all of us coming together and being friendly, it's also how we share codes. It's how we activate strands of our DNA. It's about the work we need to do as individuals to be prepared for unification. Because imagine if we all came together not fully prepared. What would we really solve? Because we're in big cities, people gather for festivals, people are living in communities, off the grid. And if they haven't done the inner work, it's not going to go so well. You're going to find duality happens again, war, conflict, drama, relationships that don't work out, cheating, lying, and deceptions. Because we are the inheritors of a lot of the Anunnaki lower creator God dynamics. We're also the inheritors of our biological family stuff. And so what an incredible role we have to take it to a much higher level and to take that inheritance and do something with it while also honoring the sacred wisdom of our ancestors and the ones that are the wisdom keepers that hold this knowledge, which is what the Star Knowledge family is all about, which is why it's always such an honor to be here. So unification comes with empowerment. And that's, something that is a term we are comfortable with, being empowered. But when we take those simple words and we look at what it really means, and I am kind of speaking slowly. I've been working on my grounding cord. At least for me, it's a little slow. I'm like, it's high blood pressure. It's like I'm a train locomotion, like, bzzz. So empowerment. Empowerment's been a huge theme, at least for me, because, it can mean a number of things for different people. Some people, it's empowerment, being in control, being in charge, having other people do what you tell them to do. That's not empowerment. Empowerment is being true to yourself. And, sometimes we find that, people that are very controlling or difficult or have major ego problems are here to learn how to soften up and be more sensitive and be more balanced. And those that are very kind and open-hearted very often agree that this is a boot camp to become a real bitch and to really become real strong in the self. And that's a little bit more my experience because I realized I was healing a lot always through my heart chakra, compassion, giving my energy away. I think I shared the story before, but even when I was a kid, if I put one stuffed animal on the bed, I would look around and I'd feel really bad for all the other stuffed animals. And I was like, so I'd stick them all on the bed. And then I realized there's no room for me and I'd sleep on the floor. And my mom would come in the morning. She's like, what are you doing on the floor? And the bed's filled with all these animals. And I was like, well, look, they're all so happy. And well, what about you? You look cold and uncomfortable. I'm like, no, I'm fine. And then I realized, is this how I am? I mean, is this a detriment? Is this really like a positive thing, I mean, it's good to be kind, but we have to look out for ourselves. We have to watch our energies because we are like this incredible human vessel and we have to be grounded. We have to contain our energies. We have to not leak it out and give so much to the point of negating our own personal needs. And so we can still touch people and activate people and heal by providing space for healing, but more from the higher chakras, more from the space of activation, more from the space of the infinite flow that never ends, instead of the heart energy that really needs to go to the self and go to the places in one's life that need attention, physical health and all sorts of things, and the things that require ourselves to be able to be available to others on the highest of levels. And so I learned to sort of move out of the heart chakra and work energy more from my higher chakras, which was a lot less draining. And it's really about learning to say the word no. And I got better and better at that. I'm completely and totally rebellious. And it's funny that my mom and dad have been trying to get in touch with me this whole conference. And I don't tell them too much because if they go on YouTube, it's like, if I'm still invited to family gatherings, that's amazing, probably because they haven't seen me on YouTube yet. And so I try not to tell them too much, but it's like they're hounding me and they want to talk and they want to talk. And as much as I love them, it's like, I just can't do it. It's like, but I can like, really feel at home and really connected here. And it's not any judgment on them. It's just about, just this invitation that we have to just be ourselves and recognize that even if other people don't get us, we actually send a gift back to them and we help our ancestral lines and we help to plant seeds. And even if we don't see the results, it's not so much about seeing immediate results. It's about knowing that no matter what the world looks like around us, no matter what we're seeing in the news, no matter how many Ebola posts you see on Facebook, it's like we're here for soul development. We're here for an incredible experience. We're on an adventure. This is the container. And sometimes, I like to joke, and I don't know if anybody, feels this same way, but if you feel like you've been shattered enough times, this actual meat suit feels like a storage container for your shattered parts. And I literally can feel the broken glass when I walk sometimes, and it's just like, this is madness. I'm completely out of my body, no grounding cord whatsoever, and all I hear is a crunching sound because all the shattered parts. So I work for months to put the pieces back together, and it just takes that one word or that one thing to just smash them all down again, and it's like, back to square one. This happened to me on Friday. Yeah, triggers. This happened to me on Friday after working really hard to get my grounding cord back. And all of a sudden, everything under the sun just, kept on happening. But it just got funnier and funnier. And that's the thing. It's like, laughter is the best pain medication. And even at the point of the things I do take seriously and work really, really hard at, even those failures crack me up. So it's like all that duality of success and failure can be neutralized through just joy and laughter and just understanding, which Dr. Dream beautifully expressed, that we don't necessarily have to, get it. And a lot of people say, I don't go out and do the kind of work you do because I'm not ready for that. I feel way too shy and this, and I'm like I'm like having heart palpitations before I speak every time. You think like I've got it all figured out. Like I'm not where, I'm completely rough around the edges. I brought flip-flops to Colorado. I don't even know if I got this other pair of shoes and I can't even stand to wear them. That's why I'm barefoot. And yeah, I talk fast, but I have to do what I came here to do, or else I'm dead. And you know what? I don't fear death, but I'm here for a reason, and I am a mother, and I don't, want to leave my children behind. But there's a lot of manipulation about the things that we fear, and the more we can just let go of that, the less we struggle to try for something and then feel disappointed at those failures. And so even though I feel like everything's sort of shattered again, my lack of being so concerned about it and my ability to just sort of giggle it off brought me right back to where I needed to be. And that trigger just started to dissipate, and it just started to, I even forgot what it was, and I even told him, I said, I kind of forgot what I was worried about. I completely forgot. And, and it's funny because a lot of people say, I'm having a senior moment, and I'm like, well, I'm not a senior yet, but I have them all the time. But I think it's because I'm supposed to be in the now, because I can drift into the past and I can focus on the stories and things that happened to so-and-so, or if I was misunderstood by somebody, how that can keep me up at night, and I'm shuffling my cards, making sure that nobody misunderstood me and that the energy's really good and everything's okay. And it's just enough already. It's watching the energy field. Where am I getting drained? Where am I getting stressed? Where am I giving my energy away? And making that my number one focus has been the best gift that I've given myself. And it's there's a lot of manipulation also about survival, things that are coming down on the planet about how we're going to survive. I mean, this is a stellar activation cycle. This is where we're getting major transmissions and major activations, and it has nothing to do with survival. It has nothing to do with catching diseases so much. It has nothing to do with going to FEMA camps. It's all this stuff is breathing down our neck, and everything is waiting for us to just stand up and drop that survival intensity, because that's the very energy they want us to hold on to, because that's what toxins stick to. That's what negative forces stick to. That's where entities feed. And the more we face this stuff and we can answer to it in a state of higher consciousness and acceptance of the fact that that's in our face, but with the knowingness that we're really here to unify, and in those higher dimensions that we can reach together, nothing can stick to it. Nothing cannot be transmuted in those energy fields. I mean, we've completely got this covered. I mean, spirit and higher dimensional energies, you don't hear about, a lot of that kind of stuff going on, except for when the planetary body was not in alignment with the galactic plane. Then it was a lot easier for these things to take hold. We are much more in a position of having to be leaders, having to be guides, having to show the way. And now it's like humanity's a bit of a teenager. We got to allow people to fall on their face and get back up again. And it's a time of everybody learning to be a leader. It's a time of people recognizing that we are an instrument. We are the most advanced technology. We are being mimicked, and they are imitating everything that we're about, so that we never look to ourselves and find it within. And that's why all these things are going on, because the minute they scare us enough is the minute they start to show us all these solutions that start to push us into a transhumanism world and starts to plug us into some sort of artificial intelligence system. And it's amazing because in certain groups, you know that none of this is working on you. And even though we are all breathing in nanoparticles and there's antennas that are being like constructed within our bodies, and we might end up like sprouting out antennas from our heads, you cannot affect consciousness once it's free. Once you really liberate yourself fully and completely and unplug from the matrix stuff, there really isn't anything that can touch you. And I don't say this out of fluffy philosophy, like feel good, like we got this all figured out. I mean, I've really lived this. It was really difficult to, be in this family, and I wouldn't say they all had huge expectations. I mean, I think they wanted me to maybe be a politician or go to college, and do, things that normal people might do. And they realized, okay, she's been in the wilderness for a couple years. Do they have courses to teach her how to exist in civilization? Because she just, And the thing is, because I couldn't live in a facade, I was the most embarrassing person to have at a DC party. I even got invited to the White House, and George Bush Sr. was sitting behind me, and I'm making sure I'm drinking all this champagne, and I'm like 15 years old, and I'm a little bit buzzed, and I shake his hand, and I look at him, and it's just like, yeah, showdown. Illuminati, you know what? Your days are over. You know why? Because the feminine power that you've been suppressing is rising, and it's rising through men, and it's rising through women, and we're reconnecting, and it's over. And I remember just thinking that as a teenager. I'm just like, whoa, this is why you probably landed in this family, because this is the very thing that is like breathing down our neck. And I'm like crazy enough to look it in the face and say, I don't fucking think so. Sorry, I had to say the F word. But, there is something called the FU therapy. When somebody's in your space and you really want them out of your space and you just say that, not out of hostility. It actually, like, I did a thing with some kind of technology that records sound prints. And she suggested, why don't you do the FU therapy after trying all these other things to clear my mother out of my space? And I was just like, you know what? And okay, because it's on video, it wasn't about my mom, it was about somebody else. But but the whole point is, it's like, it is what it is. So we have to recognize is we all have incredible dreams and visions. And the thing is, we can sit there and we can talk about them and we can, imagine what it all could be. And it's another thing to ground it, anchor it, and manifest it. And that's the beauty of our voices. And we have to just watch ourselves, And Dr. Dream covered so much that I was going to cover, and it's because we talk so much about all this stuff, and this is completely and totally our world. But it's really, looking at these planetary energies that we're dealing with. As we know, we're dealing with a lot of Uranus-Pluto squares. And these activations are not very comfortable at all. But, oh my gosh, they're incredible. I mean, what is getting shattered away from us that we really want to hold on to? The things that are wanting to leave our lives that we're grabbing onto and saying, no, 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 because it makes us feel like a failure. It makes us feel like we don't have any control over our lives, is such a blessing, because we don't really want to have control. That's a lot of pressure to put on ourselves. We only really have control over the rudder and the sails, but everything else we need to just be adaptable to and flexible to, because there's incredible cosmic intelligence that are helping us to connect with our galactic consciousness. And the wheel of the zodiac is a map to get us there. Unfortunately, that map is somewhat manipulated because we've got lower energies, lower octaves of some of these planetary forces, particularly from Mars and Saturn. Mars, free will, choices, the will to survive, the will to get one's way. It can be very self-centered. It can be very me, service to self. And that's where we have a lot of choice. Are we going to align with the matrix energies? Are we going to enable these dark agendas by running our egos in a negative way? Or are we going to align our Mars energy with our heart and merge them as one? Because those chakras used to be connected. They used to be one. And that's really, a choice that we have in every moment. And so these Pluto and Uranus transits are kind of like pushing us and asking us these questions. What are you choosing to align with? Are you a control freak, or can you surrender and embrace the greater intelligence that's helping us, along the way and guiding us along the way? And it's a part of our higher self. And the thing is, people are afraid of pain, but yet they're not. Look at the people that climb Everest. Look at the women who have babies. I had twins. No, it was not comfortable. But, and I don't think any day of my life is comfortable. And I'm not, into, pain, but I'm into the experience of feeling into it and having it be a teacher for me. And the thing is, we sign up for pain all the time. We know that if we, run up and down the stairs 100 times, we probably won't be able to walk for a couple days. But sometimes, people are in the mood to just do that. And, and people sign up for pain all the time. It's the pain we didn't sign up for that we get pissed about. And so we have to start to understand that there's certain things that are going to happen. There's certain adversities that are going to come our way that we can feel a victim to, or we can say, maybe this came as a gift from my higher self. Maybe my unconscious self needed to manifest this to release myself of something. And the more we can start to honor pain as a teacher and everything that allows us to begin to really look at ourselves and learn from our life experience, both the good and not so good, the less we're going to be in duality, because we found our inner center, we found our inner balance, and that's where the template of sacred union exists. The biggest target on this planet is the union of the masculine and feminine. And our unity. That's why there's wars. That's why there's false flags. That's why every time we feel a shift in consciousness, you start to see Ebola posts. That's why every time everything seems really good for the human race as far as timelines go, things like 9/11 happen. Because it sabotages, it pulls the rug from underneath us, and instead of talking about all the beauty we can create together, we're talking about, all this other stuff. And it completely takes our energy. And that whole system, the whole government is parasitic and vampire. And it's just funny because, not going into the family stuff, but I've never voted for a president or a congressman or a senator or anything, because I vote for Gaia, I vote for Mother Earth, I vote for humanity. And these are the times that we all need to come together. And of course, I'm not saying that you should do that. I'm just waiting for maybe that person to come along and be a real voice for all of us that is willing to take a bullet to speak the truth. And believe me, a lot of us are chosen and are willing to take a bullet for the work we do, probably because we've died so many times in the same body that it's just is there a difference anymore? And this is what we're doing. We're lifting the veil between life and death. And the more we get used to these cycles of death, rebirth, and transformation, the more these veils start to thin. And that's one of the initiations we've been kept from our culture. Every time Pluto takes us into a death, rebirth cycle, people feel suicidal, they feel like they're dying, they feel like they're losing their minds, and so what do? They run to the doctor, they go on pharmaceuticals. Same thing with Uranus. They feel an upheaval, they feel a shock, they start to have a nervous breakdown. What do? They run to somebody in someplace else to medicate it, to make it all go away. And so what do they miss? They miss the alchemy, they miss the transformation, they miss out on the wisdom of that Uranus blast, because it's like lightning bolts. And what it does is it stimulates our nervous system, it upgrades our DNA, and it helps us to move to a higher level. We're getting everything we could possibly need, but because we haven't been taught how to handle it, we get trapped in the matrix stuff, and we start to judge it, we start to feel like we're falling apart. And, I'm a professional person that falls apart and fails, and it's helped me to rise in my truth, because none of that other stuff really works. And so that languaging is almost like sounding really negative, right? I'm proud of it, I'm proud of all the things that I refuse to do, not because I'm right, it's because I'm beyond right and wrong. I want to see for myself what we're truly made of. And it doesn't matter, whether we succeed or fail, because we're infinite beings. And we're going to at least get closer and closer to being sovereign beings than running off to save our flesh on another planet or signing up to be in some underground base just because we want to stay alive. Why? When we walk outside, we might be hit by a car. We need to deny the whole human race because we want to stay alive. For what? To protect the human genome? We've been things besides humans before. We come from other star systems. We're galactic beings, so we have to really understand the game that's being played. And, and the fact that we enable certain timelines to exist. And so we're getting exactly what we need from the planetary bodies. The most important things to pay attention to, though, are Mars and Saturn. Saturn's very controlling. Mars is very aggressive and dominating. And when you see them in a chart, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a positive thing. It's really up to the individual of, how conscious is that person. You can really tell based on how they connect with the outer planets, which are Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune. If a person has a lot of difficulty with those planets, it means they're afraid of their own power, they're afraid of their dreams, they're afraid of their freedom, And so keep that cycle going by holding on to stuff from the past and holding on to all the stories and all the things that, keep us stuck. And I have to snap myself out of it when I start to go in that zone. And then start to remember that everything that we've gone through has brought us to where we are today. And it's not about the story anymore. It's not about who did what to whom, or this and that, or who said it this way or that way. It's like we have to just drop the stories. And the most important thing we can do right now for unification is to be incredibly respectful to each other. We have to really watch the way we run our energy, just like Dr. Dream was saying, for ourselves and how we, affect other people's spaces. Aggression, attack, derogatory terminology, undercutting somebody and belittling something or not respecting their freedom or their path, is not going to work. And we have to respect that for ourselves. When we look at our energetic bodies, we have a galactic history filled with exploded planets. That's why there's a lot of fragmentation. And the whole satanic energy feeds on where we are not in our power. And as long as we're not in our power, there's going to be something taking that from us and using it as a weapon against us. And so the more we get grounded in our power, the more we are empowered to manifest our dreams and visions based on being willing to talk about it in a way that lets the voice of the magician do its magic, the less anything can really plug in, because, everything that we're conditioned to do has to do with what other people think. We look at ourselves from the outside in, not from the inside out. We don't feel worthy and this and that. And everybody's got to put themselves in the temple and say, I'm in the temple. I'm a sacred being, and I deserve protection. I deserve my empowerment. I deserve my truth. I deserve freedom. And in that space, we recognize that every moment is sacred, It's a 24/7 thing. Life is a prayer. Your words, your actions, everything that you do represents that prayer that you have for the collective. And it comes true because you're not asking somebody else to do it for you. You're not waiting for some race to come in and fix it. You're not waiting for the next headline to give you an indication of if we're on the right track or not. You can't look at all that stuff. You can only look to yourself to know that. And the more you free yourself of all the different things that yank on your energy and pull you away from it, or all the people that represent those same sort of forces that run them through their beings, the more, stuck we get. And so I like to look at the masculine and feminine as the feminine is protected in the temple, and the male can be the security guard on the outside and determine who is worthy to enter that temple and who isn't. And nobody is allowed to come in and trash that space. The more we are willing to protect that part of who we are, the better off we are. And so we have to be balanced in, are we being too kind? Are we being too generous? Are we inviting too many people in? Or are we being too cold and too apathetic and too lost in our stuff? And of course, balance is everything, because when we balance the masculine and feminine, something amazing happens. When we balance the masculine and feminine, it actually connects to the rays of creation and the spirit energy that comes in and creates miracles. And the thing is, it's fun to test it when things don't go your way. Not just to wait for when everything's good and to feel like, oh, everything's so wonderful and I'm so blessed and everything's going great. It's the best when everything's going horrible and you can just whip out that laughter and make it work for you. Because then all of a sudden, amazing synchronicities happen. You start to run into people you can't even believe you've run into, and everything sort of lines up and takes you on an adventure. And it's an adventure that you didn't even think was possible because, you thought that you had to make it happen. The universe and source knows what your dreams are. It knows who you are. We can let go and just be ourselves and trust that we're going to be taken on an adventure that is so perfect and right for us. The minute we put on those masks, though, and the minute we start to repress and withhold, the more we're going to tap into those energies that want to take us down a timeline that isn't true to who we are. And so to graduate from the wheel of necessity and the zodiac is to really harness these energies and understand how to use them, and to know that adversity can be your best friend. It really can. Because there's some adversities that people are like, you're not going to escape the tears, you're not going to escape the anguish, but certainly being present with yourself and going through it is not a weakness at all. The more we face it, that's where strength truly comes from. Dr. Dream and I, we're like, we're just in an incredible process of time, and it's just incredibly strengthening. We have to understand that the earth, in a way, in a lot of ways, has been hijacked. This is a temporary thing, but it has to do with her stargates. And the stargates on this planet, which there are 12, link directly to our DNA. There's a 13th gate, though, that we're being denied of. That's why there's not a 13th elevator. That's why we don't hear about the 13th moon calendar. That's why we don't hear about the 13th apostle. And that's why, gosh, I could probably think of more things about 13. But this is what's really important to understand, because the way that we start to upgrade our DNA and start to turn all this on has everything to do with, you know, is this a better microphone? Okay, so.
Oops, is it on? Hold it up there. The green light should be on.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Uh-oh, it's not turned up. Just 1 minute.
Hello? All right, hold it for 3 seconds.
The mute button, hold it down.
Hello?
We
Gives
have
me a
to
chance to
switch
breathe.
both the equipment. Yeah, take a big one. See, that thing, you press it real hard. So.
Okay. And so, okay. So what I'm attempting to do in my presentations is to take us on a little journey into our galactic history to understand what happened to this planetary body and why is our DNA so compromised and what has been the targeting and where does it come from and where does it originate from, because for us to really heal we have to understand the roots of it. And even though we don't want to get stuck in the stories, because then we'll start to feel resentful, we have to take responsibility for what we hold. We hold all these imprints within us. We hold all these forces. And it's up to us as the inheritors to bring harmony to these archetypal dramas, to bring healing and restoration to our ancestral lines, and to look to one another in a way that truly understands that we don't have to just get along and force ourselves to get along. It goes so much deeper than that. You know, we need to not look at each other's stuff, issues, problems, mistakes. We got to go right to the heart of our soul and our spirit essence and hold that space for each other so that the rest can fall away. Same thing when we read headlines and things that disturb us. Yes, we can observe it. Yes, we can use it as a catalyst. Yes, it can be a reminder of what exists beneath that. You know, everything that seems to, try and take something away from us needs to turn into something that we give back to ourselves. Because if you can turn a weapon that they throw at us into a blessing, then what do they have anymore? And it totally pisses them off because they're thinking this is going to weaken them. This is going to dumb them down. And it's like, oh my God, they're getting empowered. They're all coming together. It's like, wait a second here. It's like they're looking up at the sky and they're celebrating the fact that they know that we're afraid of how powerful they are. Oh my gosh, they totally figured it out because they are. And the thing is, they need us as well. We need to hold a space of love for them on some level. And we still need to hold them accountable, of course. But, it's just important to understand that, if you didn't sign up for the pain that you are experiencing, on some level, you need that experience. And the more you feel into it, the more honest you are with it, the more you're true to your elements, your earth, air, fire, water, without getting lost in what it means to be enlightened, what it means to be divine masculine or feminine. And the more you don't put it in a box and you expand beyond that and you let yourself be real, those elements are going to purify and you're going to find your divinity, and all the different programmings and the things that have stuck to you over time are going to start to fall away. Because the more we try, and this was what I was trying to say earlier about building all the shattered pieces, and it felt like a house of cards. You open the door and they're back to ground zero, and then I just giggled and it's back up again. It's like it's magic. And so I don't know why I didn't giggle before. I know I did, but I mean sometimes it takes me a little bit. But the beautiful part of all this is that in this process of coming together, we are opening the natural stargates on this planet, and there's no stopping this. They tried to hijack our ascension timeline, and because it didn't work, and they saw that the warrior was rising to the occasion, we pretty much manifested a whole other timeline that can't even be tracked. They have technologies that pretty much keep up with everything that's going on, quantum access technologies that were able to find me, to target me, to go off planet, and they tried to spin a story to make it look real good to me. And they're going to spin stories to try and come up with solutions for all the problems that they've created. That's all a distraction. This is an incredibly powerful time. This planet is seated with a 13-dimensional core. It's an ascending planet. And just because it got hijacked doesn't mean that we don't have a grip on it, because the only thing that hijacked it was the energies of the negative ego. And the only thing that captures us is when we feed into it, we buy into it, and we get addicted to the matrix. We get addicted to status, to wealth, to substances. If we are awakened and we can't handle the pain of how screwed up the world is, and I was there for a long time, drinking a lot. And I don't anymore. And it's amazing because I can be around it, and it's just like, oh my God, I really am free of it, you know? And even if I were to slip, you know, it's like, it doesn't matter anymore because we don't have to be perfect. A divinity path has nothing to do with perfection. It has to do with devotion. It has to do with integrity. It has to do with self-honesty. And it has to do with, you know, just genuine respect for the process. Because we're not here to be perfect. The Fool card in the Tarot deck is the highest vibration, and its number is 0. So the Fool equated with the number 0 is like the 0-point energy, and it connects directly to Source. So how could it be the Fool? Doesn't the Fool not know, like, better? Well, the Fool knows how to fall down and get back up again and be okay with it. No judgment. It's divine innocence. You know, it can just learn and grow and just keep that childlike innocence alive. You know, the more we're hard on ourselves and we judge ourselves and we expect perfection and we expect everything to go good, that's when we fall the hardest. And that's a part of duality. You know, we strive and strive and strive, you know, for successes and everything to go perfect in our relationships and our children to be just awesome to us. And, you know, when it doesn't happen, it's just like, oh, I'm a failure. And it's like, no, you know, this is an incredible journey, and be the Fool. You know, fall back down, get back up again. You know, admit your mistakes. And maybe don't even call them mistakes, you know, look at them as opportunities. Because every time you get back up, you actually change the waveform and you put something else there instead of what your ancestors might have held on to that caused heart disease, that caused cancer, that caused all these different things that we say, oh, you know, I probably ain't going to get that because my mom had it. And it's like, no, we're changing all that. We're changing the patterning of everything. These lower creator gods, they are the veil. Nibiru, as an energetic body, is the veil. It doesn't matter where it orbits. It doesn't matter when it's coming back. It has an imprint in us. And basically, it creates the distortions of the masculine and feminine. So when we're unified inside with our masculine and feminine, and we create that Fool energy, that 0-point energy, which is the Christ consciousness, we wipe all that away. When we stay out of balance and we just stay the inheritors of our parents' stuff and these archetypal dramas that are the veil, they are not greater or higher. In actual fact, they know that we have access to Source in ways that are so threatening to them. And they know that, you know, we might have been them in the past too, so what do they really have on us? Just because we're in physical human bodies and they've got UFOs, whatever, we're UFOs. Our bodies are becoming that. You know, we're advancing ourselves to the point where we're going to recognize ourselves as this incredible technology, and we already are. And so when we don't balance the masculine and feminine, what gets birthed? The negative ego. And that's where Lucifer comes from, right? But we're not going to like sit there and tell each other you're being like Lucifer if we start to get out of balance. But we can start to look at creation and say, you know what? The same story is playing out on a macro level that's playing out in my life. You know, and we have to watch our energies because, and I probably have said this at other Star Knowledge conferences, in 1 year of our lives, we can create natural disasters, we can create apocalyptic events, we can lose everything, and, you know, pretty much destroy our worlds, and we have no choice but to get back up and keep going. So we're threatened on this planet with the same sort of thing. People, when they go to the hospital with the things that their doctors tell them, feel that same sort of thing. And it's the power of the human spirit that says, you know what, I don't think so. And when you say that, and you're determined to be strong in who you are, you can't even believe the magic that happens. I mean, I can't even believe it. The reason I talk so fast is because I was the kid that was shut up and just like, whoa, like, you know, and I won most out of touch with reality for my senior class. And so I'm not used to having the opportunity to talk. And so it's just like, you know, and I even said to myself, if I even ever live to tell the tale, or even anything about the stuff that I've, you know, come in contact with or the information I've discovered, it's going to be beyond a miracle because there's certain journeys that you take where there's no help at all, and that's for a reason. There's no protection at all, and it's for a reason. Because you are being trained to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and find your own divinity, find your light in the darkness when nothing else is there for you. That's an incredible path. And I know each and every one of us has faced that. You know, and sometimes it gets really, really scary. And I said to myself, if I get out of this, because it lasted for about 25 years, and I wrote a book about it, I mean, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable, the beings that would show up and the gatekeepers and all these things, and the attacks and all this. Unbelievable. And I said to myself, if I ever get out of this alive, I'm going to make sure that everybody I come into contact with and that my life's work is to hold that hand out to others that are going through the same thing and know that they're not alone. I'm not going to be able to get through it for them, but I swear, just knowing that there's a reason for it, that it's an incredible and powerful initiation, and it's going to take you to places you can't even imagine, is something that I would have really loved to hear, but I'm kind of glad I didn't because it's like it proved it to me because I just got out of it. But I knew that, you know, I mean, I even said just one friend. that's before Facebook. And then I'm like, oh my God, there's so many people that are on a similar path. Like, this is so excellent. Like, I mean, before Facebook, it was just like, I mean, literally, like, you know, yeah, I mean, just people in the checkout line. It's like if you had a nice conversation, it was like, okay, this is a good day. You know, people are good. I even went to the hospital one time because I said, I just want to see somebody who cares about others and that's in service, because I haven't seen anybody like that for years. And they're like, you know what, you're a really good person just going through a really hard time. And it's okay that you came here, even though you're not injured, even though you're not sick, you're stressed. Because I was raising two twin boys all by myself, you know, with no money and on the road. And no, the Eisenhower family does not have trust funds. I was on food stamps and welfare and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, again, belief systems. People might, you know, look at me and assume some things because of my family background. And we are a very close family, and I have had some assistance here and there, you know, when things are really bad. But, you know, I'm kind of tough, and it's like, you know what, I don't want your help. I want to just live, and I want to figure it out for myself. And this is what this lifetime has meant for me, you know. And all sorts of crazy jobs. Whatever, I was still on my path. Some people think, I don't really like what I'm doing for a living, you know, and I need to do my mission. I need to be on my path. And I say, you already are. It's the quality of who you are and what you bring with you everywhere you go. You know, we're not always going to have the jobs that reflect it, but we certainly shouldn't have the jobs that make things worse and destroy the environment and this and that. But we're not always going to have that ideal, and no matter where you are along the way, you're on your freaking path. And the only person you have to answer to is yourself to prove it. And that's you just standing up and saying, I am committed and devoted to the most ultimate expansion, transformation, and willingness to unify with my human family. And then whatever happens to this planet and to this world, doesn't really matter, because, you know, if we can sleep at night, I'm sure we can die pretty happily too, right? You know, so our conscience needs to be cleared. We need to know that we're sovereign beings and we're not being controlled anymore, because I don't want to reincarnate in this mess. And so as long as we can drop all that stuff now and free ourselves, then what do we need to really fear anymore? It doesn't matter when we're taken. It doesn't matter this and that, because what's taking us is spirit, not some reptilian freak that like wants to siphon our creative energy to power up their HARP technologies to create the superstorm that's going to put us on a catastrophic timeline. It's like, you know, guys, have your fun, okay? This tumor is bifurcating off of the Mother Earth body, and whoever's vibrating with that tumor might have to live out what it means to have a life support system put on that tumor so that they can live in their life cycle of technology keeping them alive. But this isn't Mother Earth. Mother Earth is a multidimensional body. She's within us. She's our inheritance. And so there's a lot to be healed when it comes to the divine feminine and masculine. But simply identifying it and knowing this is our role is really all it takes, because that guidance, that protection, and that gratitude and that mutual connection, you know, will carry you through. And I'm a really sensitive soul, and so, you know, and I realize, like, if I'm feeling bad for being, you know, for feeling misunderstood and I'm losing sleep over it, it's like, that's so lame, because look at all the evil that goes on in the world, and they don't even think twice. And it's just like, you know, nobody even like reflects on that. And it's like, you know, and Dr. Dream sees me shuffling my cards like crazy, and it's like, wow, you know, and you almost forget sometimes that we're in a real, I mean, okay, tree of good and evil. All right, thanks for the evil part. We totally get it. And it's been an incredible catalyst. But what it's really been a catalyst for is showing us that when we're not in our power, when we're not standing in our darkness, knowing it's the fertile creativity and the soil that we plant seeds in, then somebody else is going to be running the show. And that's all we need to acknowledge, is that if we're not standing in our power, somebody else is there. And standing in our power does not mean control and domination. It's taking Mars and Saturn and raising its vibration. So Saturn, instead of being all about control and having things like, you know, in order and being about law and order and rules, it's about committing to the self and being responsible to the self. Because you take the same energy and you spin it in a way that actually works, because Saturn's all about discipline, responsibility, and focus. Except a lot of times it comes from the external power sources that tell us what to do, even though they're doing the worst criminal activity behind the scenes than you can imagine. When we take Saturn and we say, I'm responsible to myself, I'm grounded, I walk a path of integrity, and limitation as a law for me is going to be to limit the negative things I do to myself and others, to limit the negative habits and behaviors, and to limit where fears might get in the way. And then Mars just needs to say, hey, I'm right there for you, higher self, and I'm going to be the power source that you can work through to manifest Gaia's dream, to manifest your dream. And the thing is, we all have unique roles. Uranus we can't get to unity consciousness without going through Uranus first. And Uranus is all about independence, originality, and uniqueness. And yet, it's the planet of unity consciousness. So, the prerequisite to unity consciousness is knowing who we are, being authentic, being unique, and embracing that, because that's the real web of life on a human level. And the more we do that, the more we recognize what our roles are, and the more we sync up with each other, and we're not trying to change each other, we recognize the importance of it all. And that's why we all come together. Look at this incredible synchronicity. If we weren't being true to ourselves, we wouldn't find the information. We'd be overlooking at something else, maybe going to some wacky concert that the Illuminati's put on. I mean, who knows? And it's incredible because the flow is there, and nature teaches us this. Nature is the ultimate teacher. It's the soul matrix that we have within us, earth, air, fire, water, all the animal spirits we connect to. We feel that affinity. We feel that medicine from them. And once we truly get in touch with it, then we can unify, because oneness is diversity and harmony. And that's the beautiful part of being true to ourselves, knowing that doesn't mean we're alone. It doesn't mean that we're the lone weirdo in the corner. It means that that uniqueness is offering something huge. And I know this sounds silly, and I probably have said it before, but we see this in nature. You don't see an animal trying to be another animal. You don't see a dolphin trying to be a squirrel. You don't see a bird like stressed because it can't swim. It's like everybody's got its role, but it feeds into the web of life, and it becomes like this mandala. And we have this as humans because our soul matrix is nature. Mother Earth is a reflection of what we have in here. Now the ego is where we get tricked. And this whole artificial matrix is set up to manipulate our free will away from us. They cannot take it from us, but they can trick us and manipulate us and push all the right buttons to take that and take it and then fuel up these technologies. And then our own energy is enslaving us, actually. And that's what happened to the feminine energy in the underworlds. And through the path of facing our divine feminine energies and what it really means, we purify those hell regions, and it becomes the cauldron of creativity again. And everything heals. And the thing is, when we heal our own elements, the earth responds. When we allow our emotional bodies to clear depression and sadness and grief and the heavy density that we may carry, the waters of the earth respond. When we heal our physical bodies and we learn from the symptoms and we wear our scars proudly, and believe me, I've got tons of scars that I wear proudly, then it's like, wow, we give it life again. We give it meaning. We give it beauty, and we don't judge it because it's not perfect. And then the air. Okay, we're getting sprayed, right? So it's very easy for us to get lost in our mental bodies as far as, how we should think and, what is, really going on. This sort of fog develops around us, and our, higher chakras, feel somewhat chemtrailed. But when we reach a little bit higher than that into the ethers, and we start to move past the astral entities by being a dream warrior and bringing the dream into reality instead of just waiting, till you sleep at night, through being conscious of our words and our actions and our behaviors, knowing that we're a living prayer, then we clear those fields, and we actually help to clear the skies. And the thing is, we're going to start to notice the world healing around us. But it's not us needing to fight the system to do it. It's us taking the time to really work from the inside out, recognizing that the outer dream is going to start to change. And as long as it doesn't, it just means we're witnessing other timelines, and we're here to help those souls get on track. And it doesn't matter how long it takes, because as long as we can all gather together and share in the joy of what we have, that nobody can take away from us, the less all that other stuff is ever going to stop us, block us, prevent us from embodying, all that we really have. And it's like we just have to choose not to let that stuff take us down, And if it brings us down, we need to stop and say, okay, I got to be real with this emotion. I got to be real with this feeling, and not judge it because it's not like it doesn't feel enlightened. And it's a lot of New Age teachings kind of put us in a bit of a trap about all that. And really, it's just the more we can be ourselves, the better. And so as I'm up here being myself, it actually helps ground me, even though I'm going to look back and go, I hope I don't ever see that video. And I don't watch my videos for a good reason. But, I love just the opportunity to be able to do this, because this is how we heal. I mean, you can't try and jump someplace that you aren't yet. You just have to gradually move through it. And the thing is, we have to move through a lot of very difficult layers to get to the other side. But in doing that, alchemy happens. And in working with the light and dark, we start to spin the energies faster than the cycles of life and death, and that's when everything starts to lift. And it's just incredible, and I'm, presenting a lot about the origins of Gaia Sophia, how this planetary body became what it is, what the natural stargates are about, how it connects to the Venus transits, and what it means for us right now, and what kind of activations that we're getting to move us into our galactic chakras and our more expanded versions of ourselves, because this is the time, and it's going to offset all this other crap that's getting thrown at us. And believe me, look at it like it's getting thrown at us to remind us of what we need to access. It's not getting thrown at us because it's going to take us down or it's actually a reality. It's going to keep pushing our buttons, and we have a choice to let it take us higher. And let's keep reminding each other. Dr. Dream and I just, it's an honor and a pleasure to do sessions with people and to work energy with people. And, let's just, keep the vibration, as high as possible. And the thing is, if you start to take something too seriously, and you can't find that crack of laughter, I bet if you called me up, I could tell you some stories that would make you feel a lot better. And and this is what it's about. I mean, I know that we all have things that are really difficult to process, and it's not always funny. But the more we feel like it's okay to have these real conversations on a deeper level, we won't feel so constricted about being social because the conversations aren't doing anything for us. And this is where we have real substance and meaning. And we're going to take it with us wherever we go, and we're going to invite as many people into this field as possible. And you know what? They're going to be so grateful because everybody is crying out for this. And this is why there's any physical symptoms or any pain, because all pain is stuck creativity, stuck joy, stuck inspiration, and all the things that have been wanting to be set free for so long. And that's all that pain is. And our bodies are always reminding us of what we need to liberate. And enough with perceiving it in a way that takes us into a zone that further enables some sort of other timeline to be real, when we can use all of this to our benefit to expand into all that we are. And I'm just so grateful that you all came, and hopefully I'll see you in the workshops, and if not, I know you'll enjoy the other speakers, and it's just an honor, and I love you all so much. Thank you.